Good morning, everybody. This is Sue Sanders with Susie Q Stamping. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Lake Ozark/Eldon, Missouri. Um, I normally do this technique or tip on a Tuesday. However, yesterday was like really hectic for me and I just did not get time to do it. So I am coming to you this morning and I have pre-recorded this because it is 6 o'clock in the morning. So if you are joining me on the replay, thank you so much. Please leave a comment. But I wanted to show you a technique today that I've kind of been wanting to play around with. Excuse me. And just hadn't had a chance. And I had somebody ask me, about a month or so ago to give some ideas on how to use the gold gilding flakes. So we're going to do that today. We're going to play around with those, and I'll show you a couple of examples that I made. I keep my gilding flakes in a big container like this. This is how they come. They come in a jar, and it's just shoved full. I mean, I've used this, but not very much, but I still have a lot left in there. But I do put it in this great big container so that I don't have them all flying away while I'm working with it. So, word of caution, do not do this with a fan blowing because you will have gold gilding everywhere. We're going to cover this up until I get ready for it, or I'm liable to spill it, because yesterday when I was practicing with it, I almost had a mishap and spilled the container. All right, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to use one of the dies from the two-toned Flora die set. This is a very intricate die. I've gone ahead and I've die cut it out of Blackberry Bliss. I love this rich color, and with the gold, it just really shows off that rich tone of the color. I've also got a piece of our adhesive sheets, and they come in a package like this, and they measure out at, let's see, at 6 by 12. So it's 12 inches long by 6 inches wide. So I cut a piece that is 5 1/4, I believe, or 5 1/2. Let's see, what did I do it at? 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So it's going to fit right on a piece of paper that is also cut at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So it's going to be attached to there, just like that. And the gold gilding is going to be sticking to the sticky side of this paper. And once we get it all finished, I'm going to put the card front onto a piece of boho blue. For some reason, whenever I bring in the blue paper, it always messes with my lighting. I don't know why. So I don't know. I'm messing with it here to see if I can get it to be a little bit better there. All right. So we're going to set that aside for right now. And we're going to concentrate on just the focal point here. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to lay down on your cardstock the adhesive sheet. Okay. Now what I found was this is really sticky, and you want to start peeling off slowly that backing. You want to get this lined up as close as possible. We're going to be trimming it down, so it's okay if it's not 100% even on it, but we're going to do it as close to it as we can. Okay, so I've got the top portion laid down. Now I'm going to peel off the second piece because it comes in where it is sectioned off in thirds, and it is very sticky, but you want to try and get all of that sticky laid down on your card. Okay, and as you can see, I'm off just a tad, but it's okay because, like I said, we're going to be cutting down the card front. And then we're going to take the third section and peel that paper off, like so. And we're going to burnish that down really good with our hand, just to make sure that there's sticky all around, okay? Now, it is kind of difficult to get this taken off, so I take my Take Your Pick tool, which is one of my favorite tools in my room, and I begin at one of the corners to pick up that backing off the stickiness. Am I getting it yet? All right, then carefully you want to pull off that backing so that it leaves the sticky stuff. And if you see that it's pulling the sticky off, go back and press it down a little bit more so that you get the sticky on your paper. Okay, so I'm just gently removing that backing. And like I said, if it's not quite towards the edges, I'm not worried about it, because we will be trimming this down to fit on the front of our card. Okay, so now you have the sticky backing on your second piece of cardstock. Like I said, I already had this piece cut out. There's a little tab that didn't come out. You want to make sure that most all of your little innards are removed. Whoops. So I was just removing a couple of my little innards that I noticed that had not been poked out. Now, very carefully, you're going to lay this piece on top of your sticky. Lay it down, and you're going to kind of want to, I took my backing piece so that it doesn't stick to me, and I'm just rubbing that over the top of that die cut so that I get that die cut nice and flat on that sticky paper. Okay, so now that leaves you with this, where you have the die cut, and then you can kind of see where it's sticky inside there. And I can see that I didn't get it burnished real well here in the center, so let me lay that backing sheet down again and burnish it some more with my hand. Okay, I see that it released a little bit of sticky. We're going to take that off because we don't want gold gilding there. I'm just taking my spatula end of my Take Your Pick tool to get that off. I just don't want it on the top side of my die cut. So we're just going to play with that here a little bit so that we can get that. Looks good. Okay, now we are ready for the messy stuff, but it's fun because when you see the transformation, it's really a cool technique. So off comes our lid. Careful not to touch your inside adhesives, and we're just going to start laying some of this gold flaking down all over our card. Okay, so it's relatively easy, but you can see why I say don't have a fan going when you do this. And these are big pieces, so that's okay. I'm just laying them down all over that front of the sticky, and it looks like a mess right now, but when we get done with it, it's going to be absolutely gorgeous. You want to just make sure that you get every spot that you have that adhesive showing through your die cut. And you can do this with just about any intricate die or any die if you want. And then you just kind of take your hand and you rub over that gold gilding. Make sure it gets worked down inside of those holes. Okay. And like I said, then we're just going to kind of rub this off gently with our hand. And of course, you're going to get it all over you, especially if you've got any kind of adhesive on your fingers. Okay. Now I'm going to come in with a soft brush. And this is just a paintbrush that I've got in my room. And I'm going to start flicking off all that excess hang-offs that are all hanging over the edges. And you'll see it where it's got all the gold leafing that's still hanging on the edges and all. And we're just going to kind of take and get that all off of there. So I hope everybody is preparing for a nice, safe, quiet Memorial Day. At our house, we're not going to do anything. We'll barbecue probably over the weekend. But as far as going anywhere, since we live in a tourist area, we try to stay at home when holiday weekends come. We don't go out much. All right, now I'm going to set that aside and kind of get this off of my hands. Like I said, it likes to stick. So see there, it's stuck to my nail polish, but it will wash off. Now I'm going to take a little bit harder bristled paintbrush, okay? And this I think I got it at a Ben Franklin's several years ago. And it's a stencil brush. And now I'm just going to lightly go in a circular motion, and it's going to take off that excess leafing from inside of my die cut. And this does take a little time, but it's worth it. The effect it has is really worth the time you put into this card. Okay. You can also take a piece of scrap paper and lay it down, and you can do this flat so that you're not having to hold it, but have something to catch all of this excess in so that you can pour it back in your pot or your container. Because even these little teeny tiny pieces can be used. So one of these jars will last you a long time. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of flick this off camera, get some of that excess off for us. And now I'm going to start working in this corner up here. I'm hearing somebody walk into my house. I don't know who it is. It's probably my daughter, although it's awfully early for her. I always think I can get these things recorded before anybody comes in. And so we just keep working this around till we get all those little bits and pieces loosened up off of our card front. We're going to do a little bit of tap tap. You want to be careful when you tap tap, because if you cause a lot of airflow, you will have these things flying everywhere. Okay, so now I'm going to go just a little bit harder with my brush in a circular motion and try to get off as much of that excess that I can, because I don't want globs of it left on there. See how pretty that's already coming to look? It's so pretty, and I love that rich color of rich raspberry with gold. I think it is just so elegant. Okay, now off camera, what I'm going to do, ladies, is I'm going to take this over to my trash can, and I am going to take a paper towel, and I'm going to just kind of wipe it down so that it's got those little, the little teeny tiny bits that I really don't care if I keep. So over my trash can, I'm just kind of wiping it down so that I've got all that excess off, and yet it's not all over my work area. Okay, so there's what our finished product is going to look like. Now I see that I've got some excess, but like I said, that's going to be cut off over here, right? So that looks pretty good. This is where I had some sticky on top of my card. Just some extra bits. You don't want to sneeze or cough into your container either, because that will also send all of these little gold flakes flying through the air. Okay, so gonna dump that back into my, oops, that was not smart. I don't know if you all seen what I just did, but I just waved that piece of paper around and it made it shoot out my gold flecks everywhere. All right, so let's cover this up before I make a mess. Set that aside. And I do have some gold on my mat, my silicone mat, but it's going to be washed off. So we're just going to set that aside. And I've got some here on my desk that I'm just going to wipe off. Get it all together in one area. Get me a baby wipe. Baby wipes are handy to have in your room. I don't recommend cleaning your stamps with them because they do leave little linty specks, and then if you put that in your ink pad from your stamps, you'll get little fuzzies in your ink. So looks like I got most of the gold all up off my desk. Into the trash that goes. Oops, I forgot some. There are some up here in the corner. We better get those or we'll have gold everywhere. Got it done with our paintbrushes. All right, so now what we're going to do is I've got another dry paper towel here. We're going to lay this down so that we don't get our card wet. We are going to now take this piece and we're going to cut it down. And I know that my card base is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I'm going to cut off these little edges, and it's okay because I'll show you what I made for my examples. I've got a couple of other cards that I made. So we're just going to put this in our trimmer, and I'm going to cut this down to probably 5 inches, but I'm going to go 5 1/4 on one side and cut that off. And you can just throw these little scraps away. We're going to flip it around and we're going to cut it then at 5 inches. Again, throw that little scrap away. Now I want to make this at 3 3/4. So I'm going to cut at 4 inches. Turn it around and use my flat edge up here at the top and cut it at 3 3/4, which is usually like the second layer size that you use on a card front. Okay, so we're done with our trimmer. What do you think of it so far? Do you like it? And now we're going to have, so this is what we're going to have. Now, if we wanted to, we could add another layer of paper to this, which I might do that. Let's see. I wonder how our new color, Moody Mauve, would look. Let's pull a piece of Moody Mauve out and see how that will look to back that piece. And this piece will be the 4 by 5 1/4. So we got 4 inches here by 5 1/4. This was just a scrap I had in my drawer that I just pulled out. Oh, see how rich that looks? And then we're going to put that, we're going to mount that then on our boho blue. Okay, see how pretty that is? That looks really, really pretty. And I'm going to put some ribbon on this. I am not going to put a sentiment on the front of it because I think a sentiment just might take away from the whole effect that we have. But I am going to lay this piece down on our Moody Mauve. So I will take my Stampin' Seal Plus, which is a very strong adhesive, so you don't need to have great big strips of it on your card. I just kind of go around and make several, and then I'm going to lay this down and hopefully have it all even. I can tell that's not going to be even. Sometimes it's not easy looking at it under the camera and not having it right in front of you. But we'll give it a try again. So, the best that I can, get it as even as I can. Now I'm going to take some of our beautiful boho blue ribbon that's in the new catalog. And we are going to take and tie it down here towards the bottom. I can get my hands to work. All right. And we're just going to make a faux knot on the front of it. So I'm going to turn my card over and I'm going to place some adhesive right there. Come off that little excess as I throw my scissors around. Okay. So once we have that on there, now we're going to go ahead and put this, and I think what I'll do is I will put this up with dimensionals just to kind of give it a different look to it. Let's see, I know I've got some, there's some. So we're going to take and put some dimensionals on here, and I'm going to use my take your pick tool to get them up so they don't stick to me everywhere. So make sure that you leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this technique and this kind of card. There are so many different things that you can do with this gold gilding that I haven't even started to experiment with. It was something that I kind of was apprehensive about using. It kind of was, trying to think of the word I'm looking for, intimidating to me because I didn't know exactly what I was doing. So I have several dimensionals on here, but I want to make sure that it's all even and that it's not going to sag when I put it through the mail. I'm just removing those backings And if you see that I have little lines on them, that's so that I can tell that I've got the backings removed. I'll show you on my bigger sheet. So this is just what I've got left, but I draw lines through all of my dimensionals. And that way then as I'm taking off the backings, I don't have to wonder, well, did I get that one or not? Because sometimes they're hard to see. So now I'm going to just place this on our card base. Better make sure I've got it opening the right direction. Yep, I do. I've been known to put it on upside down, and that wouldn't be so good. All right, so now we've got it placed down there. I'm going to cut off a little snippet of ribbon, and I'm going to come in, and I am just going to tie a knot. In my ribbon. This is such soft ribbon, and it ties really nice. The only problem is sometimes I have a hard time maneuvering it with my big fat fingers. All right, and I'm going to move that knot kind of over to the left, and I'm going to pull it tight. And then we will snip off our edges. Okay, and there we have our gold gilded card. Okay, set this aside, and let me show you the two other examples that I made. I used on this one, I used the Rich Razzleberry, I'm sorry, not Rich Razzleberry, that one's discontinued, Blackberry Bliss, with a piece of Very Vanilla, and then the boho blue, and then I cut my die out of the blueberry bushel, and then I did emboss Happy Birthday, and I'd cut this one down to where it just showed the top portion of it and not the bottom. And then this is one that I did with blueberry bushel and the bubble bath. Don't know if you can really see that with the camera lighting. And then I took some of our discontinued white seam binding ribbon that I just loved, and I colored it with the bubble bath blends so that I could have a little bow that would match. So those are the three different examples that I have for you today for the using the gold gilding. So do it with the adhesive sheets on a back piece of paper, and then use your die cuts. Okay, so thanks for joining me today. Appreciate that you watch my recordings, and if you need to order any of these supplies, you can do so by going to my blog, Susie Q Stamping, and clicking that link for my store, which is the catalog. If you do order from me, there is also a host code at the top of my blog. Please use that host code if your order is less than $150. That helps me to get prizes and gifts that I can give out to my customers every month. And I also offer a rewards program for every $30 for an order, a single order. Then you get a heart punched, and then you will get a free gift after you get 16 of those hearts punched out. So have a great day. Be safe this weekend for Memorial Day, and we'll see you next week. Bye.